summary of meeting we held on December 2nd. In front of you there for your review. Give you just a few minutes to look at that, and then the chair will entertain a motion for acceptance and approval of the minutes.
I'll move the approval of the minutes.
Mr. Chester move to a second.
Second.
Mr. Cox second. All those in favor, let it know by saying aye.
Aye.
All no, opposed no. Motion's carried. All right, now we have we approve the budget here at the board meeting.
We approve it here and forward it to the board meeting as a recommendation.
Okay. You have a copy of the budget there, and this is a recommendation to the board, which will convene as soon as we get through here, I suppose. These amounts that are in the budget are those that are required for economic development by state law, is that correct?
Mm-hmm. This is the minimum amount required by state law.
And then the expenditure of those monies for marketing and recruitment, existing industry support, workforce development. Is the budget there? Is any questions about the budget? Anyone have any questions?
This would be the same as the current year's budget.
That's correct.
I make a motion to approve and recommend to the board.
Second motion.
Mr. Cox moved, be approved and recommended to the board for approval. Second? You second?
Yes.
Further discussion? All those in favor, let it know by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. The motion's carried. But we want to have the reports from each of the entities in this meeting or in the board meeting. They're on the executive committee agenda, and I never know which one we're doing.
Do them now, get them done.
Okay, city?
A lot of capital projects underway. We had hoped to be done by now with the work on the city center garage and plaza. It's taking a little bit longer than expected, but we should be done the month of January. Council will hear a report on that tomorrow from the architect, but that is shaping up. It's very nice now, if you're in the garage, to realize that it's not raining on you anymore. The water's not coming through. What we're working on now is more on the top, getting the pavers down, getting the things finished up, if you will. But that project is moving along. Council received and approved a grant from the state that will allow us to do some landscaping on the exchange between 25E and East AJ. So there's about 200 trees will be planted there in the landscaping project in that triangle between the new ramp and the highway that will really dress that up. That's a project that our tree board and our new horticulturalists will be heading up, but should dress up that area and make it a little more presentable to folks who may be visiting our area. Our big project on Public Works out at Durham Landing and Howell Road is on track. We should be on schedule to move into that facility and leave Dice Street this spring, late spring. If you drive by now, you can see the buildings are pretty much up. We're moving inside on most of the buildings, getting things prepared to go. So that project is well underway. And then the design work for the community center, which would be right next door, is just about to the 50% level. Council's going to hear a report on that this month in terms of where we stand and where we're going on that. So we've got a lot of construction activities happening and a lot more in the pipeline.
Any questions on any of those projects from anybody? Okay, is somebody gonna make the county's report? Or-
I'll make it.
Okay,
Unfortunately, Mayor Britton is not able to be with us today, but he submits the following report. Planning and design for the Justice Center project continues with groundbreaking in mid or late fall of 2020. The Board of Education has submitted plans for renovation to the Morristown High School West High project to the State Fire Marshal. They expect to bid the project in February. Hamlin Counts, the local census 2020 coordinating committee, is ramping up its public awareness campaign. The emphasis of the census taking process is that it will be done online. The local committee is focusing on hard to count populations. Hamlin County will celebrate its 150th anniversary in 2020. A committee headed by Jim Clausen is working on events for the year.
The city cleaned up some right-of-way issues and property issues for the expansion at West, and I never did really understand. We had some right-of-way on paper that was never ever developed, but I think in terms of where the city stands on that school project, we should be out of the way.
questions? On the groundbreaking, is that for the jail, you think?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Anybody got any questions about any of those? If not, Marshall?
So the school system with Chuck Carter's working on a new bus, if y'all have heard about that. I think calling it Career Coach, or is what other communities have called it. So Walter State, I think, donated their old bus that the ball teams used to the school system. And the idea of that is to have STEM technology, welding, advanced manufacturing components within that bus and take it around to the schools. So instead of having the schools come to the high school to see that, you can take this bus around to all the schools and show the students kind of what careers are available and kind of let them get hands-on. So it's a very hands-on, I don't know if I've seen any pictures of similar ones, but there's some pretty neat ones that we've seen in the past. That's a lot of welding simulation and a lot of hands-on. It's not just putting them on a bus and making them fill out paperwork. It's very hands-on. So that's the idea with this bus. So in the next year, you'll hear a lot about them trying to fundraise to pay for some components of that. And I expect a lot of our manufacturers will get involved and kind of support that effort. So the idea is just to teach more kids about what jobs are available in the community and kind of let them get hands-on a little earlier. So earlier in their careers in middle school, that they see and touch some of these things, hopefully the better they'll understand it.
I think right now they're working on the ADA compliance part of it. They're having to put a lift in so that wheelchairs will have access to it. So that's been a big thing of them trying to figure out.
Our active projects right now are kind of Van Hool, McNeilus, Iatric, and Daniel Paul chairs. Van Hool, I think we'll see some dirt moving here in a few months. McNeilus is completed and making some product and should have their first sale in a couple weeks of that product. Iatric is currently adding in their second or third line, and they're up to over 100 employees. And then Daniel Paul Chairs facility is boxed in and almost completed now. So I'd expect some ribbon cuttings on a few of these here in the first quarter. We've had, and you guys may have noticed this if you go through Chick-fil-A, not that anybody in town goes through Chick-fil-A. If you notice the call center sign, yeah.
Obviously, you hadn't been in their line.
With my kids, I'm there too much. So if you've seen the call center signage, it looks really good. It says Sykes and Intuit. So if anyone knew, early on their first customer was AT&T. So if you had an AT&T cell phone and you called customer service, there was a good chance you'd call Morristown. That contract is no longer there. So now they service Intuit. So Intuit, of course, runs QuickBooks software. So the challenge for us is it's less jobs than it was during AT&T. The good thing is now, though, anybody that answers the phone for Intuit makes what a supervisor previously made, so they're higher skilled jobs. So before, we may have had 500 or 600, now we're probably 200 to 300, but they're higher skill, higher wage call center jobs. So you'll have your small business owners or your tax professionals calling them about help with QuickBooks. So I think you'll see Intuit getting more involved in the community as well this year. They like to invest some money in the communities they're in and kind of be an employer of choice. So I think we'll see some activity from them this coming year. They'll, of course, try to push kids toward that accounting profession because that's what they need. But that's good for our community. It's a different type of industry. We had a lot of manufacturing and a lot of white collar and a lot of medical, but this is something we didn't have. So, not everybody wants to work in a manufacturer. So this was something unique, and, they're always hiring, so that's a good one. I know a few of y'all were at the TCAT grant announcement, which is really exciting for the region. So TCAT received $1 million gift grant, and Chris Edmonds was really, important working on that grant. I know many of y'all worked with Chris. But that'll be used to deploy equipment to the regional high schools and kind of get them, the high schools, similar equipment that's available in our TCAT, so that workforce is trained and ready to go when they graduate high school for some of our manufacturers. So that was a nice event. Good to get the governor here. Appreciate everybody's support on that. That's all I have, unless anybody has questions.
Any questions? Let me ask Tony this question. Is Van Who gears up to get started? The land transaction is finished, correct?
That's correct. The deed is transferred, the payment has been made.
And I suppose the question that I'm asking is, are we set up to do a fast track on their building and really the grading to
Right.
where they can, I reckon it'll take some time to get their plans approved because they're gonna be rather massive.
They're big and they will require state review, but we are working with their design team. They're making some final tweaks and making decisions. We'll probably see activity on the renovations of the old house that will become their office building. We'll see that first while we're working through the plans, but we should see plans for grading here in the next little bit, so they'll be ready to go in the spring.
But are you gonna do them separate? The plans for the grading are gonna
Yeah,
come
we'll
first?
do
where
it in
they
phases so they
get
can
that
get to
out of
work.
the way. Okay. So you're planning a fast track
That's correct.
arrangement? And the fast track arrangements to where we approve, we've asked, so the city several years ago came up with, I reckon Tony was part of it, a fast track program for these industrial projects to where you don't have to wait until you approve the whole set of plans, which includes, I reckon, the plumbing and the electrical and the safety and all the stuff that goes with it. And the fast track enables you to do the foundation, approve the foundation, and then the next step to where the contractors can begin work without waiting 30, 60, or 90 days to get it all approved. And that's approved, very helpful for our manufacturers in the past. And on Van Who, I'd say that's gonna be critically important.
Yeah, there's a lot of moving pieces in getting that one done, so.
I suspect it is. Okay. Okay, is there any other business to come before the executive committee? If not, the chair will entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
It's been so moved, and it's so ordered. So the executive committee is finished, and now we'll immediately call the, move to the board meeting. And this is our first executive committee and first board meeting of the year. The meeting's called to order, and you have minutes of the December 2nd meeting of the board in front of you there. Is there any questions concerning the minutes? If not, the chair will entertain a move,
Motion to approve.
It's been moved, is there a second?
Second.
Second, all those in favor, let it know by saying aye.
Aye.
And all those, opposed, motion's carried, the minutes are approved. And, the executive committee has just approved the, budget, for income of 162.5 and expenses of 162.5. Those are the funds that, are the amounts that are required for economic development by, state law, of which were approved. Those are the minimum amounts. And the executive committee has approved those, and it's, before the board now to officially approve the budget. Chair will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and second. Floor is open for discussion. Anybody? If not, all those in favor, let it know by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. And the motion's carried. Okay, we're down to, other business. Marshall, a review for the committee, the executive committee, meets monthly, and when does the board meet?
Quarterly, 4 times a year. Yeah.
4 times a year. So this is our first meeting of the board. The board generally meets the, first Monday of each month at 8:30, and, does the executive committee meet when the board meets, or just the board ordinarily?
Typically, we've done it separately, but we could do it either way. I mean, there's some communities that do 12 meetings in a row, back to back in one sitting. In January, they sit there and meet, open, close 12 times, and the state said that's fine. But we space ours out more so we can get kind of updates on what's going on. A lot of counties don't have as much going on.
Is that satisfactory with everybody, that if we'll have the executive committee meeting monthly, and then we'll have the
Well,
board meet?
I'm trying to remember the way that the resolution laid out. The executive committee is supposed to meet 8 times, am I remembering that right?
Yes, really the reason you're meeting both the board and the executive committee today, partly was because of the budget, because the executive committee has to recommend the budget to the board, and then the board is who, sends it to the city council and the county commission, and that has to be done by April, and the next board meeting wouldn't be until April. So that's part of the reason, and then the other part was because we did fall behind on our meetings while we were waiting for the interlocal agreement to be updated.
Okay, so, but for 2020, in other words, the executive committee is gonna meet 8 times, the board's gonna meet 4 times,
Yes,
and when the board meets that Monday, the executive committee won't.
right.
Right. Is that satisfactory with everybody? That's what I presume.
That would work. It would help me a great deal if you'd send me a reminder of the meeting dates, because I don't have it on my calendar, it's not really.
Okay, yeah, I can send you a calendar.
Okay, any other business to come before the board? Any questions, anybody? Not, Chair will entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
It's been moved, second.
Second.
Second, all in favor, let it know, say aye. All opposed,